100 years ago,
Yep.
the House of Representatives went to 9 ballots to elect the Speaker of the House. On 3 occasions prior to the Civil War, a Speaker was not elected on the first ballot. In one instance, it took 133 ballots over a 2-month period. In the 234-year history of the House, only 14 speakers' votes have required multiple ballots, and we are living in history. We've gone through a whole ass pandemic that hadn't happened in 100 years, and now this. And it's like 79 degrees out in Jersey in the January 4th. And I'm like, this ain't right. I went walking this one. I was like, something did we I mean, I appreciate it because I don't have to wear a coat. But I'm like, no, this ain't right. This ain't right. No.
Life's going to get affected. The plants are going to get affected. It's not good.
It's confusing. Squirrels out there like, am I
There's
supposed
a heat
to?
wave sitting all over Europe too. I'm like, not good. Not good.
Smith said he saw a yellow jacket. They are completely confused. Still living in the winter. This is not good, y'all.
And apparently there's some big, massive, I was out in LA, it was raining, and LA definitely needs the rain. California definitely needs the rain, but it's like too much, too fast. So there was flooding out in Sacramento. And then apparently there's another storm off the coast that's coming in. It's going to dump. So, don't be surprised if we start hearing about mudslides in California.
I had one of the 5011 contractors that rolled through. So I was like, this is not normal. And he was like, just enjoy it. And I was like, that's the problem. That's your problem. You're not concerned. You're just, let's just enjoy it. But you're not even processing. But I guess that's why you were doing what you're doing. Anyway, not to be an elitist, but I'm just like, some people need to be paying attention. I'm gonna pay attention. This ain't normal. There's this. While I'm enjoying it, it speaks to the dysfunction of our government in a way that I tweeted, these foes ain't loyal. But like there's levels to this. While the Democrats have held the fort behind Hakeem Jeffries, who will become the first African-American House Minority Leader in the history of America, which is also weird, considering that the Democrats have only been able to win in the last 50 years because of Black people. That said, he got his 212 votes. They haven't wavered. Now, on the 5th ballot, Kevin McCarthy lost votes. Somebody abstained or voted present. 2 people, actually. Yeah. And then they added, it was Jim Jordan yesterday. Today, they decided, let's put some stink in the game. We're going to nominate Byron Donalds. And I was like, who? And then I went to he just got elected. He's from your state there. Now, I'll ask you about him in a second. His Twitter handle says liberty-loving, pro-Trump, pro-Second Amendment, pro-life, husband and father to 3, Congressman, Florida, 19. He's Black-ish. So I said they're trying, they're playing games, y'all. They're playing games. Who's fooled by this? Nobody. The Democrats.
Yeah, it was kabuki theater. Maybe they thought it's like them to think that some CBC Black folks would vote for this guy because he's Black, because that's their play. That's what they did Herschel Walker, right?
Did they think that this Congress, these people, these are lawyers and folk that read?
I think this is all performance art, right? Like it's all about trying to make a statement about their caucus, about their issues, about McCarthy. And in the meantime, why not throw out a bone and say, oh, look, we're not racist when we're clearly racist. But I think what people are missing here is that this fight is not, whereas these votes are performance art, the dispute between the parties is not performance art. It's real. They have real substantive disputes, largely because McCarthy wants to govern or wants to run the caucus in a way that doesn't blow up future GOP prospects, number one, and he doesn't want to default on national debt. He doesn't want to do he doesn't want to defund the DOJ and FBI. He doesn't want to do things that are completely lunatic. And they want the power to, this group wants the power to be able to do those things, most of whom, because most of those people were looking for pardons not all that long ago. They don't want DOJ to exist. They don't want FBI to exist. They want to defund the IRS. They want to do all these things that they've been chatting with their base about all this time. Now, you can make these kinds of ridiculous promises and spew this vision of a sort of wild, wild West America to win elections, but you can't govern that way, right? And McCarthy felt like he could appease them and still try to govern in some rational way. And because they don't trust him and they know that he's not a true believer, they're not going with him. They want a true believer who's actually going to demand these things on the floor and hold the country hostage to get what they want, because one thing they believe in is tyranny of the minority.
Right. So how long can this go then? I mean, because it seems to be a band of 20 that's now a band of 20. They're not, Lauren Boebert's illiterate self got up there and doubled down on the black dude. How long can this go?
Here because there's a personal vendetta against McCarthy, right? So on the one hand, they're sending the message that no matter what you do, we're not going to vote for this dude, right? And to them, the win is him losing.
Right.
I think they went for the fifth vote or the fourth vote because they felt like the Trump endorsement would get him the fourth vote. Because they thought that Trump would have enough influence over these 20 people to bring them over. The problem is they hate McCarthy more than they love Trump right now, right? So they're like, no, we're not going to do this. And so what they're saying is, since you can't move us, you have to move to us. So the 6 of us or the 20 of us are going to stand firm. If you want a Republican speaker, then y'all got to come to us. They're playing the exact same kind of chicken brinksmanship now that they're going to play later with our entire economy. At this point, the brinksmanship that they play with the speakership is not something that really gets under my hair, because, whatever, it's your caucus. But what they're showing is how they are going to proceed going forward on every issue. And so every issue is going to be, you either come to us or we tank the economy. You either come to us or we take, and so we're just going to defund the government. You either come to us or, and that's the power that they want. What they are demanding from Kevin McCarthy is the power to completely stop the US economy if they don't get what they want. And not only do they want that power, but they want the power to kick him out of the speakership at any time he doesn't what they want. Because there used to be a 50 vote threshold to even bring a vote to oust the speaker. Now they're saying 5.
No, they said 1.
One, right? So one person can bring a motion, but only a Republican. A Democrat can't bring that motion. So only a Republican, one person can bring a motion to oust the speaker. Now, how often are they going to bring that motion to oust the speaker if he steps even remotely out of line for what they want? And so in order to have the choke tether on him, to force him to do what they want, they are basically saying, which means you can't do what 3/4 of your caucus wants you to do, right? You cannot cater to them. You must cater to us. And if you don't cater to us, we have the power to usurp your speakership. And McCarthy's here like, okay, but they still want to vote for him, right? So
what's going to happen? Pam Keith is here. You ran for Congress from Florida, from the state to represent the state of Florida. If you, I just imagine, that while the Democrats are, sending out memes and enjoying the popcorn, I think this is troublesome because of what you said just then, because something's going to have to happen. Now, this has been floated out, and I think it's actually a great idea. If a Republican nominates Liz Cheney with the understanding that all 212 Democrats would do that, they have at least 10 votes that would vote for Liz Cheney, even though she lost her election, retired. You can come back as Speaker of the House,
sure,
even if you weren't elected this site, even if you're not currently in the House, you can.
I absolutely think that could happen. However, I mean, philosophically that could happen. Realistically, what would happen is I think they're floating that to force this group to either accept McCarthy or deal with Cheney. And obviously they have reasons to hate her even more than they hate Kevin. I just don't. Do I believe that Hakeem Jeffries could get all of his 212 votes to vote for Liz Cheney? Probably, because Democrats
It's strategy. This is
they're going to say,
they know.
look,
So because here's the thing: Democrats know that they don't have the numbers. You need 218 votes. They only have 212. They voted every vote they could vote. You're not going to get six votes from the Republicans. They're not six Republicans that have a conscious or, because they also understand power. They have the numbers. They have the majority right now. You're not going to give that up, because what that means is that Biden will, because now we have the Senate and the House. They're not going to do that. So they're not getting six votes from anywhere. Why not really make it stink and go get Liz Cheney?
I don't think that. I think there are discussions happening backdoor, maybe not for Liz Cheney, but there are discussions happening backdoor. But if a deal like that were to be cut, the way you would get that across the line is to give some assurances to Democrats that certain things will not be done, like getting rid of the Congressional Ethics Office. She's not going to do that. And putting those 6 votes that you need in committee chairs and positions of power. And I think I think the deal could get cut that way. Like I said, Democrats are pragmatists. They don't like Liz Cheney. They don't agree with Liz Cheney, but they believe that she's not insane and she's not going to completely tank the economy on these games of chicken. So if they could strike a deal, I think Liz Cheney could actually work, because she's proven herself to be tough and clear-minded and committed to the Constitution,
and not for the damn insurrection, and not for
exactly nonsense, she's not a Democrat. She doesn't have Democratic policy interests, but she does have interests in national security and the stability of our economy. And so I think Democrats would be like, hey, that's the lesser of all evils, let's go with that. And I think, like I said, I think there's no question that Hakeem will have 212 votes for her. There's a little wrinkle though, and people say, well, is there another wrinkle? There are a couple other wrinkles. One is we don't know what's going to happen to George Santos. While it is true that
his ass was voting today.
He was voting today. Yeah, while it's true that he's voting today and all of that, I don't think we've heard the rest of the. I don't.
Even if they remove him, that's just one vote.
Yeah, and then we have a special election. We have a special election in February that's going to pick up another Democratic seat. Right?
Okay, that's just 2 votes. We need 6.
Well, if they're down 1 and we're up 1, they need 4.
I see your point. It's nasty and it's historic. And I also want to say I'm grateful that I'm getting to see, first of all, those of you who have children, like, this has never happened in 100 years. Have them watch the process, because I'm also seeing somebody I never saw before until today, Cheryl Lynn Johnson, who is the 36th clerk of the United States House of Representatives. She's been masterful and she's been amazing. This is a woman born in New Orleans, Louisiana. Her daddy was a Reverend Charlie Davis. She graduated from the University of Iowa. She also has a JD from Howard, HU, law school. Okay. And then she went to Harvard Kennedy School of Senior Management. She was in their senior management program in 1988. This woman is amazing and she's handling the business with her gavel. I'm here for it, because, she's got the Black woman energy, like y'all going, excuse me.
Regulate.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Listen, sit down. I'm loving this. This is delicious.
But the thing that's historic here is McCarthy's move here. Like, at the end of the day, no person, like, can you imagine Nancy Pelosi calling for a vote on her own speakership and not having the votes? Like, McCarthy didn't have the votes. And he knew he didn't have the votes. So what did he think he was going to shame these people into voting for him? I think that's what he was thinking. But you got to know your people. You cannot shame these people.
Yes. Yeah. Even we know that. So I was wondering too, You knew damn well you didn't have the votes. Why are we even going through this? Number one. Number two, I guess they're procedural things, but why don't they just come out and say, all right,
out long ago behind closed doors.
exactly. But why don't they just say, do any of you has anybody changed their vote? Just raise your hand or whatever. Who changes their vote? Then we ain't got to go through all 400 and something people.
So what he was thinking, because again, this is indicative of him putting his own ambition above the good of his caucus, right, and above the Republican cause, because he's been champing at the bit to be speaker from way back when Paul Ryan was speaker, right, and he got ousted because he was having an affair with his
what? Wait,
intern,
what?
Somebody.
Wait, hold on. Please say that slower.
Okay,
Kevin McCarthy was having an affair.
Oh yeah, he was. So what happened was, back in the day, Paul Ryan did not want to be Speaker of the House because it's not a really good job, and he liked being on Ways and Means, which is a powerful committee that basically, it's just basically Ways and Means is the most powerful committee in the House. So he liked being chair of the Ways and Means, and he didn't have to whip votes for stuff like a speaker does, right? So McCarthy was first in line to be Speaker of the House, but he got ousted because he was involved in, I think it was a second, I don't quote me on that, but I think it was a second affair with one of his staffers, and it was considered too tawdry. It was considered, back then they cared about optics, not
okay. I was like,
but back then it was too tawdry, and it was going to give the caucus a black eye, and so he was pushed out. So from back then, he feels like he's been owed this, and from that point on, every move that he has made has been to put himself in the speakership. It's what he's always wanted. It's his life dream. It's his top ambition. He's wanted to be Speaker of the House. So now he's put himself in a situation where he was so sure he could guilt or shame or cajole or pressure these people to vote for him, that all he did was say, look, I want to be speaker. You're going to have to not vote for me publicly. And he double dog dared them to do it. And I'm like, you going to dare Matt Gaetz? You're going to dare Lauren Boebert? Really? Like, they care about optics? Their base loves them for what they do. And the more ornery they are, the more beloved they are by their base. And so, no, there's nothing McCarthy can do to move them. The thing is, for the good of his caucus, if he was a real leader, he would have had these meetings behind closed doors and found a consensus person, even if it wasn't him. But in his mind, it has to be him. In their mind, it cannot be him. And so they are at loggerheads. And they keep thinking there's something that can be done to win them over. But the problem is the things that they want are poison pills, and they know it. They know that they are asking for poison pills here that are just not tolerable for the overall caucus. And more importantly, they don't trust McCarthy's word anywho.
The affair, October 2015, he was accused of having it with another representative. Her name was Renee Louise Elmers. That's when he unexpectedly dropped out of the speaker race days earlier after these allegations surfaced. And then there was another, I'm just looking, it was withdrawal of the Elmers. They both denied that they had an affair. Mm-hmm. So, but he did. He
stepped down, and she's obviously no longer in Congress, so we don't know what happened to the girl.
We don't.
But it just comes down to this personal ambition of his. He is so driven by him having this role that he's willing to sacrifice just about anything or anyone, and everybody knows it, which makes them not loyal to him. You see, that's the problem. The problem is that he's making all these promises of what he's willing to do for other people, but in reality, everybody knows he's trying to do it for himself, so they don't trust him.
Smith says he seems like a Frank Underwood. I would say no, because in order for him to be Frank Underwood, he'd have to have a Claire in his life. For real. And he wouldn't be in this position. Now, he would end up, a lot further along, but clearly he does not have a Claire in his life, because there's no Frank Underwood without Claire Underwood. I said it. Y'all can at me, 866-801-8255. It's all fiction. No, it's all fiction. Pam Keith is here. If you were advising the Democrats right now, because, those of us who would like to see the Democrats in full power so that, things like, I don't know, like marijuana being legalized federally, or, the student debt forgiveness actually going through, the child tax, that, coming back, and, certain things we like to see, infrastructure, all of it fully funded and fully executed throughout the country. We would like to see that, and broadband internet, everywhere, especially in places that are hard to reach. I feel like, we're having this like Pyrrhic victory, but it's not real, because there's only 212 votes for Hakeem Jeffries, and that's all he's going to get. And so it's not going to happen. And all of the wishes and hopes that we have.
We didn't win. We didn't win the election. Elections have
right.
We didn't
So if
win.
you cared, you should have showed up in New York and other places where we could have actually made a difference.
A lot of people didn't show up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're asking me, what would I advise the Democrats to do? I'd tell them to do exactly what they're doing. Just keep on voting for Hakeem Jeffries. The solution has to come from the GOP. If Hakeem Jeffries got up there and suggested Liz Cheney, they would reject it out of hand. So whatever solution they try to come up with, it has to come from the GOP. It can't come from the Democrats. All the Democrats need to do is stay steady, stay united, and keep on smiling. The Republicans are either going to come up with a solution or they're not. And if the only solution they come up with requires Democratic help, then sit tight and let them come to us. Don't come to them with no kind of solution, because they'll reject it out of hand as a Democratic plot of Pelosi and, whatever. They're going to make it all about AOC or whatever, right? Which is what they always do. No, the answer is to just sit tight. Don't do nothing. Don't say nothing. Let them come to you. And if they have a solution that they want to float to the Democrats, then we're in a position of power to say, okay, well, here's what we want to play game with you, right? Now, we could ask for some committee rule, but I wouldn't even be like, well, put me head of this committee or that. I would just say, look, here are the rules that we want. And because the rules are more important than committees, right? The rules of how we're going to vote, how's this thing going to go down. We're not going to get rid of the ethics office, number one. We're not going to have a speaker that's ousted by a vote of one person. That's stupid and a waste of time, and it's going to create all kinds of chaos. We are going to, have maybe some kind of power sharing agreement, but, we're going to keep the gun detectors, like things that I would be looking to maintain the stability. And the goal here is, like, if Jeffries did decide to make a deal like this, I don't think it's a tough sell to the American people at all. I think you just come out and say, look, at the end of the American people spoke. They wanted Republicans to lead. We have to respect that, because we don't deny elections. We respect the will of the American people. But the team they chose is not governing and is not able to govern. And so with that in mind, we are willing to work with those few Republicans that have the interests of the United States first. We understand that this is not going to necessarily mean a green light to the Democratic agenda, but it does mean that we're going to work together to keep America afloat. And
all right,
I think he could sell that to the American people. I think the American people would greatly appreciate and respect that. And I think even Democrats would respect that and say, hey, it's not our turn to lead, it's their turn to lead. But we can't let the country burn down around us while they try to figure their ish out.
All right. Well, we'll keep waiting and watching. The next round of voting has already started. Kevin McCarthy looks dejected. I'm waiting some minutes to find out if somebody else has been, if they've nominated Donalds again. If not, maybe he can get his. Maybe he can get his votes. At the
end of the day, if I were a betting person, I would say at the end of the day, McCarthy's probably going to get it, but he's going to be so weakened. He's going to be so weakened in that role. He will have given up so much. I don't know. I
don't think he's going to get it.
Don't you? Well,
no, I think there's going to be something nasty.
I'm willing to bet you a 6-pack of your favorite libation.
Huh?
I'm willing to bet you a 6-pack of your favorite libation.
Okay, 6-pack of water. That's what I'm drinking.
I think at the end of the day, because there's nobody else that they would. I don't think there's anybody else that they would coalesce around. Like, do you really think Scott Perry could get 218 votes?
No, I don't think there's. I think it's going to be something really off, like that, because I think there's enough good Democrats that Republicans. I think there are at least 10 or 12.
I
I think
don't.
there's 12 out of
No.
the 230.
I
You
don't
don't think
think,
there's,
no, I don't think
you don't
there's
think there's 12 good Republicans? Not 12, not 10?
not 4. I don't
You don't
know.
think there's 4 good Republicans? Come on, Pam Keith.
They got primaried. They got primaried out. Man, like if you, all right, so if I'm willing to admit I'm wrong if you were able to name for me the Republicans you're thinking about.
Oh, when I say good, I mean not horrible. I mean, the
just
bar
mean
is so low.
and I'm just saying Republicans that still deal in the real, like which Republican is not anti-vax, which Republican is pro-science. Name me the Republicans that are not looking to gut Social Security and Medicare. Tell me which, like, tell me which ones are going to fund the military even if we vaccinate our troops. Like, tell me which ones are you talking? I'm willing to admit I'm wrong if you give me names.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Hmm, uh, 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 can't. I can't. I was just thinking the law of averages would say there was at least 10 that were.
No,
I guess.
I don't believe that the reason I don't think that whole Liz Cheney thing is going to work or any kind of compromise.
All right. Dan Newhouse. No. He voted to impeach. I don't know. He voted to impeach Trump. I'm Google searching. Listen. Dan Newhouse. How's that?
No.
How's that?
I'm highly skeptical.
Okay. All right. What about is Tom Rice still in Congress? Tom Rice? No, he's out. Fred Upton. No, he just retired. They were floating maybe bringing him in. He said he would be open to coming back as speaker. Fred Upton.
Look, the thing is,
from Michigan.
As much as I believe that there are plenty of people out there that could get the Democrats on board, I don't believe they could get the Republicans on board because it would look like a Democratic win. You know that they're so profoundly motivated by,
Okay. All right. So then what are we doing here? This is a waste of time. All right. I'm going to move on. This is a waste of time then. This is a waste of time.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, you will see, but I don't think that will be the solution. I think that they hate Democrats too much.
Okay. I agree with you. So this is what gridlock, this is what we are in store for.
We're in store, and just be glad that the Democrats and a handful of Republicans that were going out passed the omnibus bill right before the end of the last session, and that's why, and you just so you know, Karen, your listeners know that the House Freedom Caucus wrote a letter to the GOP Senate conference telling them that they were going to primary every Republican senator that voted for that omnibus bill because it took away the cudgel that this new House wanted to have. It took away because, let's just admit that most of the stuff that this House is going to pass is going to die in the Senate.
Right.
We have the votes in the Senate to stop everything they do. So the problem is not that they're going to advance their agenda or that we're going to advance ours. No agenda is getting advanced.
Going to get done in 2 years. Okay.
Right? The only thing that's going to happen in the next 2 years is some executive stuff, maybe, and just keeping it's victory if we just pay our bills. Like that's all we're going to get done for the next 2 years is if we can get some rationality. But the Republicans know this. Right? They know they don't have the votes in the Senate. And so what they're trying to do is set up a situation where we default on our bills unless they get what they want.
All right. Well, Donalds is nominated again. Smith, who nominated him this time? Because they keep saying different people are nominating him. So first is a guy from Texas, then it was Lauren Boebert. So he's going to lose again on this ballot because they are letting us know that. Are you familiar with what happened with Damar Hamlin? I can't imagine that you wouldn't be. Okay. Are you into football at all?
I'm totally into football. And in fact, in my college days,
don't tell me you play. What?
No, I didn't play, but I was a football athletic trainer. I was on one of those medical staff on the sidelines.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
I was a trainer and I traveled with the football team and took care of their injuries and wrapped their ankles and all of that, taped their ankles and all that.
Okay.
So I had
So
a bit of
did you
knowledge.
watch did you watch when Damar Hamlin collapsed?
I didn't see it happen, but I was like monitoring stuff. And like shortly after it happened, I saw, the commentary. First of all, I saw it on Twitter because Twitter's live that way. Like the way
Mm-hmm.
Twitter will let you know what's going on in the world. So I
Me too.
immediately jumped to TV and started watching it. And I want to say off the top that the medical staff of both teams were exemplary in dealing with that situation. Both medical staffs worked collaboratively, quickly, decisively, and effectively, and they saved that young man's life. Because I have heard of this condition, comedocarditis, something like that. I've heard of that. I've never seen it myself, but I have heard of it, where blunt force trauma interrupts the electrical current that gets your heart beating in a regular fashion, just like a pacemaker regulates that electrical pulse. A blunt force trauma can interrupt that, but 99,000 times out of 100,000, you're going onto the field to deal with orthopedic problems, right? Or head injuries, right? Very, very rarely are you on the field to deal with anything cardiovascular. Extremely rare. I think the last one I can think of is Drew Bledsoe, who had that hit that ruptured an aorta or something like that. Very, very rare. And yet they were Johnny on the spot. They knew what to do. They did CPR. They used the AED device. They got him to the hospital. They got him into the hospital within 20 minutes. That's extraordinarily good. So tip of the hat to that team.
Yes.
Not so much tip of the hat to the NFL team that took an hour to call a game while the players were just distraught.